Stonehenge has been the site of a number of UFO encounters over the years.
For centuries, Stonehenge has stood as a riddle carved in stone, a monument tourists photograph yet no one truly understands. But in recent years, scientists aimed ground-penetrating radar and magnetometers beneath the fields of Salisbury Plain.
Some of the stones are even heavier. So how could you have moved these into place? How could you have moved them from Wales, where the blue stones, the spotted dolerite, came from within Stonehenge?
What they found stunned them. Hidden pits, circles and alignments emerged like a ghost world, rewriting everything we thought we knew. This was no lone stone circle. It was the centerpiece of something vast, deliberate and disturbingly precise. The question now is simple. What were our ancestors really building? The first shock beneath the plain. When the Stonehenge Hidden Landscapes project began, archaeologists expected modest discoveries. Perhaps they would confirm a few burial mounds or spot minor anomalies invisible from the surface. Instead, the scanners peeled away the soil and revealed an entire hidden map. 17 unknown monuments appeared on their screens, scattered across the surrounding fields like pieces of a puzzle waiting to be solved. Each one was large, structured, and unmistakably human-made. These were not random irregularities in the soil. They were ceremonial circles, shrines, and pits that had been completely invisible to the naked eye. One of the most astonishing finds lay just 2 miles north at Durrington Walls. There, radar traced a ring of 20 massive shafts, each over 5 meters deep and 20 meters across. Together they formed a perfect circle stretching over a kilometer wide. To imagine the manpower required is staggering. Each shaft would take weeks of back-breaking labor with primitive tools. Yet somehow the builders managed to carve 20 of them in a flawless geometric alignment. It was an act of engineering on a colossal scale, one that rivaled anything else in Neolithic Europe. The discoveries kept multiplying. Long barrows up to 30 meters in length appeared beneath the surface, as if ancient architects had buried entire avenues of ritual space. Radar traced the outlines of timber halls built atop burial mounds, structures large enough to host feasts or ceremonies for hundreds of people. What archaeologists once believed to be empty farmland turned out to be one of the densest ritual landscapes in the world. Salisbury Plain was not just home to Stonehenge. It was saturated with hidden monuments stretching across miles of ground. For years, visitors imagined Stonehenge as a lonely sentinel rising from the grass. The new evidence shattered that vision. The famous circle was not an isolated masterpiece, but the central hub of a sprawling ceremonial complex. Each hidden feature seemed to connect with others, forming a vast web of alignments across the plain. Archaeologist Vince Gaffney summed it up perfectly. The landscape was teeming with unseen archaeology, as if entire chapters of human history had been lying silent just beneath our feet. And if these were only the features we could detect with present-day technology, how much more might remain hidden at deeper levels? How many layers of construction lie stacked beneath Salisbury Plain, each one telling a forgotten story? The sense of scale forces us to reconsider our assumptions. Stonehenge was never meant to stand alone. It was the keystone of something larger, a ritual machine operating on a landscape scale. If we now know that Stonehenge was surrounded by vast networks of pits and monuments, what were these mysterious alignments really for? A cosmic calculator, hidden in the soil. The buried features were not scattered at random. When researchers mapped their positions, a chilling realization emerged. The alignments connected with astronomical precision. At the Greater Cursus, just east of Stonehenge, scanners revealed 2 vast pits placed at opposite ends of a straight line. One sat due south of the famous heel stone, the other due north. At first, the pits seemed like oversized hollows. Then astronomers checked the orientation and the truth became clear. The southern pit aligned with the exact position of the midsummer sunrise. The northern pit pointed directly to the midsummer sunset. Together with the heel stone, they formed a perfect solstitial triangle written into the earth itself. The discovery sent waves of excitement through the archaeological community. For decades, everyone had known that Stonehenge aligned with the solstice sunrise. Tourists still gather every June to watch the sun climb over the heel stone in perfect alignment, but now it was clear this alignment extended far beyond the stone circle. The buried pits connected with the sun's path across the sky in ways no one had suspected. The entire surrounding landscape was part of a vast astronomical machine. The 3-kilometer avenue leading into Stonehenge suddenly made sense. Far from being a simple processional walkway, it mirrored the same solar alignment, guiding pilgrims directly along the line of the rising sun. To walk that path was to participate in a cosmic journey, stepping into a landscape calibrated to celestial events. The builders had not simply piled stones, they had engineered the ground itself into a living calendar. The implications grew stranger. As researchers traced the alignments, geometric patterns began to emerge. Triangles and ratios appeared in the mapping, patterns echoing the golden ratio and other sacred geometries. Whether by design or by coincidence, the mathematics were undeniable. Across the fields of Salisbury Plain, our ancestors had constructed a cosmic calculator capable of marking solstices, lunar cycles, and perhaps even eclipses. Could Neolithic people really have tracked the heavens with this level of precision? The evidence suggests they could. By using pits, stones, and alignments across miles of terrain, they created an early astronomical instrument on a scale modern observatories can barely imagine. While today we open apps to track eclipses, they carved their predictions into the soil itself. The accuracy left researchers stunned. This was no primitive farming calendar. It was a sophisticated observatory, a system designed to lock onto the heavens with terrifying precision. If the buried monuments were part of a cosmic machine, what knowledge were our ancestors trying to preserve? Were they marking the passage of seasons, or were they encoding something far more urgent? Perhaps warnings of cosmic events burned into collective memory. And if these alignments still operate with such precision today, what hidden messages might they be sending us from across 5,000 years? The Superhenge and global parallels. The 20 colossal shafts at Durrington Walls quickly earned the nickname Superhenge. Their sheer size made it clear that the builders were thinking on a scale that dwarfed Stonehenge itself. Each shaft, 5 meters deep and 20 meters across, had been painstakingly excavated by hand using tools of wood, stone, and bone. Together they formed a circle so vast it defied comprehension. To walk its perimeter would take hours, and yet every shaft was positioned with remarkable precision, as if they were points on a compass marking the edges of a sacred precinct laid out with unseen instruments. When archaeologists overlaid astronomical data, the mystery deepened. The Superhenge appeared to align with celestial markers, suggesting it was more than a ceremonial boundary. It may have functioned as a giant observatory, tracking the movements of the sun, moon, and stars with astonishing accuracy. Some researchers even proposed it could have been used to predict eclipses, which would have required a sophisticated grasp of repeating cycles and long-term observation. If so, the people of Salisbury Plain possessed an understanding of celestial mechanics far beyond what most textbooks have ever credited them with, an intelligence rooted in patience and precision rather than superstition. The discovery of the Superhenge also forced comparisons with other ancient sites around the globe. At Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, massive stone enclosures older than Stonehenge show alignments with the stars. In Egypt, the pyramids mirror the pattern of Orion's belt. Across the ocean in Mesoamerica, Maya temples were calibrated to solstices and equinoxes with a level of precision that continues to impress modern astronomers. The parallels are too striking to be brushed aside. Were these monuments simply the result of convergent human ingenuity, or do they hint at a shared body of knowledge carried across continents by networks we no longer remember? Some archaeologists dismiss the idea of ancient global connections, pointing instead to independent invention. The sky, after all, is universal. Any community with patience could watch the horizon, mark the solstice, and notice the patterns of the stars. But others argue the similarities run too deep and too precise to be mere coincidence. The mathematics of sacred geometry, the obsession with solstices, the construction of massive enclosures, and the transport of stones across impossible distances echo one another across cultures separated by oceans and millennia. Could it really be that every civilization stumbled upon the same methods? Or is there something more? One unsettling possibility is that humanity, facing common cosmic threats like comets or meteor showers, developed these monuments as early warning systems. If so, the Superhenge and its global cousins were not only ceremonial structures, but survival instruments, encoding knowledge vital to the preservation of future generations. That perspective reframes Stonehenge not as a relic of superstition, but as part of a global archive, a prehistoric data network carved into stone and soil. If this is true, then every alignment and shaft becomes a message. Were these monuments built as reminders of past devastation, or warnings to prepare for dangers still to come? The thought unsettles even modern scientists, because it implies our ancestors experienced cataclysms so severe that they felt compelled to encode them into the very landscape. And if that is the case, then the monuments scattered across the world may not be isolated achievements of human creativity, but fragments of a single, long-forgotten system of memory. If similar structures around the world encode parallel messages, then what else might be buried beneath the landscapes we think we know, waiting to connect the dots? Could the next scan of some windswept plain reveal that humanity's first civilizations were already cooperating on a scale far larger than history ever taught us to imagine? Stones from distant lands, people from everywhere. For decades, archaeologists assumed that Stonehenge was built with stones gathered locally. The sarsen blocks, after all, are found across southern England. But new geochemical analysis overturned that assumption. Every surviving sarsen matched a single quarry in West Woods, 15 miles north. That meant the builders deliberately chose one site, cut all 50 stones, and transported them across the landscape. It was a coordinated project of immense scale. The altar stone at the center of Stonehenge told an even stranger story. Isotopic fingerprints traced it not to Wales, as once believed, but to northeast Scotland, over 500 miles away. To drag a multi-ton stone across Britain in the Neolithic era required planning, manpower, and shared purpose on a level previously unimaginable. It was not simply construction. It was a symbolic act of unification, bringing together materials from distant lands into one sacred circle. The Bluestones added yet another chapter. They originated in the Preseli Hills of Wales, 140 miles to the west. Analysis showed that each stone was deliberately quarried, transported, and placed, sometimes rearranged over centuries. Taken together, the evidence reveals a staggering truth. Not a single major stone at Stonehenge came from the immediate area. Every piece of the monument was imported from somewhere else. The human remains buried around the site reinforced this picture. Isotopic analysis of teeth and bones revealed that nearly half of the individuals had grown up outside the Salisbury Plain. Some came from Wales, others from the north of England. Ancient DNA confirmed the diversity. These were not locals building a local temple. They were pilgrims, representatives from distant tribes converging on a central place. Even the animal bones told the same story. Cattle and pigs brought from distant regions were slaughtered in mass feasts at nearby Durrington Walls. The scale of cooperation defies belief. Imagine scattered communities across Britain, each walking for weeks with their animals, their stones, their dead, converging on Salisbury Plain to build something together. It required visionaries to coordinate, leaders to persuade, and thousands of hands to labor in unison. Archaeologist Mike Parker Pearson described Stonehenge as a monument of unification, a sacred project that drew diverse tribes into a single shared purpose. The emotional resonance is overwhelming. These were not isolated farmers stacking rocks for ritual. They were people forging unity through a monumental act, binding themselves into something larger than tribe or territory. Each stone was an ambassador from another land, each burial a testament to shared identity. Stonehenge was not just architecture. It was a statement that Britain's scattered peoples could come together to create something that transcended their differences. If the effort was so great, if the vision was so ambitious, what did they believe was at stake? What compelled entire regions to converge on Salisbury Plain? Was it religion, politics, or something even greater, perhaps survival knowledge meant to be preserved for all time? Buried memories of cosmic threats. As researchers sifted through the vast datasets from radar and magnetometer scans, a disturbing pattern emerged. Many of the pits and alignments seemed less like ceremonial features and more like records. The precision of their placement, the way they connected across miles of landscape, suggested a systematic purpose. Some theorists began to argue that Stonehenge and its surrounding monuments were not just calendars, but archives, permanent records carved into the soil to preserve knowledge of cosmic events. The younger Dryas impact theory looms large in this debate. Around 12,000 years ago, evidence suggests Earth was struck by fragments of a disintegrating comet. The impact may have triggered sudden climate shifts, massive fires, and the extinction of megafauna across continents. If such devastation was seared into human memory, it would make sense that survivors encoded warnings into their monuments. The night sky would no longer be a source of wonder alone, but a source of dread. Alignments marking solstices might also point to the timing of comet showers or meteor storms. The massive pits at Durrington Walls take on a new significance in this light. Could they represent markers of cosmic events, each one aligned to track the memory of a celestial threat? The geometry across the landscape begins to look less like ritual space and more like an early warning system. A civilization without writing may have chosen stone and earth as the most permanent way to preserve knowledge. In this interpretation, Stonehenge is not superstition. It is survival technology. The idea gains strength when compared globally. In Turkey, Göbekli Tepe may encode astronomical events. In Egypt, pyramid alignments may reference stellar cycles. In Mesoamerica, monuments track Venus and eclipse seasons. The similarities suggest a common motive: to inscribe the sky's dangers and patterns into the Earth itself. These were not isolated obsessions, but collective responses to trauma from above. The chilling thought is this: if our ancestors built Stonehenge as an archive of cosmic threats, then they knew something we have forgotten. They witnessed events that scarred their world and reshaped their societies. They carried that memory forward in stone so future generations would never forget. The monuments become less about worship and more about instruction, silent warnings across millennia. If this interpretation is correct, then modern discoveries are not just archaeological trivia. They are reminders that the sky has struck before and may strike again. If Stonehenge encodes warnings of past cosmic disasters, what does it mean for us today, living under the same sky? Are we prepared for the next event? Or have we forgotten the lessons our ancestors tried so hard to preserve? Rethinking everything we thought we knew. The traditional story of Stonehenge always felt tidy. Built in phases between 3100 and 1600 BCE, it functioned as a ritual site, a primitive observatory, or a burial ground for elites. The solstice alignment confirmed its role as a seasonal calendar. Archaeologists described it as impressive for its time, but ultimately comprehensible. That narrative is no longer tenable. The underground scans demolished it. 17 hidden shrines, 20 colossal pits, alignments stretching miles, stones hauled from Scotland and Wales, people converging from across Britain. None of it fits into the old framework. Stonehenge was not an isolated temple. It was the hub of a complex system stretching across miles of landscape. It was not the work of a single community, but a project uniting diverse peoples. It was not a simple calendar, but a cosmic calculator capable of tracking events we still struggle to understand. Each new discovery forces us to see Stonehenge not as a relic of superstition, but as evidence of sophistication beyond our expectations. The implications are staggering. If Neolithic people could coordinate construction on this scale, transport multi-ton stones hundreds of miles, and align monuments with astronomical precision, then our assumptions about their capabilities collapse. They were not fumbling in the dark of prehistory. They were scientists, engineers, and visionaries working with the tools available to them, encoding their knowledge into a system that has endured for 5,000 years. Even more unsettling is the possibility that Stonehenge is not unique. If one landscape in Britain hides this much unseen architecture, how many other sites worldwide conceal similar networks? What might be buried beneath the fields of Europe, the deserts of Egypt, or the jungles of Central America? With today's scanning technologies, we are only beginning to peel back the surface. The silence of ancient stones is breaking, revealing a chorus of voices that speak of unity, survival, and cosmic awareness. The greatest twist may be this. What if Stonehenge, as we see it today, is only the latest version, built upon older versions buried deeper in the soil? Each reconstruction could represent a reboot, an upgrade, a continuation of knowledge passed down for generations. If so, the Stonehenge visible to tourists is only the surface layer of an ancient operating system still humming beneath the ground. If Stonehenge was a unifying project, a cosmic calculator, and perhaps a survival archive, then what were our ancestors really trying to tell us? Were they reaching forward through time to warn us, to prepare us, or simply to remind us that the universe is not a safe or silent place? Stonehenge is no longer just a circle of stones standing against the horizon. It is the surface expression of a sprawling complex, a machine carved into the earth to track the heavens and preserve memory. Its builders dragged stones across Britain, united tribes, and inscribed cosmic knowledge into soil and sky. The underground scans have proven one thing beyond doubt. We have only begun to understand what our ancestors achieved. If this much was hidden beneath Salisbury Plain, what else lies buried under the landscapes we walk across every day? The silence of ancient stones is finally breaking, and the story they tell may change how we see ourselves forever. Like, subscribe, and tell us, what do you think Stonehenge was really built for?